Hey guys, it's your girl Jasmine and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you guys are new.
27 hearts beat.
So today I'm in my car. I guess you could kind of see that, but in case, I don't know, what am I talking about? Yeah, vibes. So today I am going to be talking about the truth about, or my experience, or what they don't tell you about being a commuter to a university. I'm going to be giving you just a couple of things that if you are already a commuter to university that maybe you can relate to, and if you are about to go to a four-year university and you are going to be a commuter, maybe these things will help you out as well. Before I get into this video, I first want to explain what a commuter is, because maybe there's people watching that are younger or that have absolutely no idea what a commuter is. A commuter is someone who does not live on campus at college and drives to class and to campus every day that they have class. So that is what I did. I did 2 years at a community college, and then when I transferred to a four-year university to finish my last 2 years, I commuted there because I went to a university that was near-ish to my house. So I just felt like it would be better for me and cheaper to drive there. Sorry if this intro is kind of long, but let's just get into this video. Travel time and parking is number one on my list to talk about, and that is because that was like the biggest thing for me. I didn't realize, at least at my school, that I live about 25 minutes away from the school. I would have to leave my house an hour to an hour and a half before my class started, because I had to drive there, you know, the 25 minutes to drive there, find parking, that's a whole nother story, finding parking, and then have to walk to class, which my campus is like, I say my campus is a pretty decent size. Obviously it's not the biggest, but it's a pretty decent size. Depending on where you park at, you might have to walk a little bit far to get to class, and that's just that. But the travel time, the parking, how much parking costs, let me know down below how much parking costs at your university, or how much it did cost when you went to university, because it was $240+ a semester for me to park on campus and never find a parking spot. I pay all this money to not find a spot to park in. What am I paying for? I used to get so upset because I could not find parking. I have to leave my house so early to get to class. So I would have, you know, if I had an 8 a.m., which by the way, don't schedule 8 a.m.s if you're a commuter unless you're like really down for it, because that was the hardest thing ever. I honestly missed class so much. But having an 8 a.m., having to leave my house at like 7 or 6:30, and then having to deal with traffic and parking, it was ridiculous. Would not recommend those 8 a.m.s if you're a commuter, because it just makes it that much harder to get to that class. Friends is a topic that I kind of had people talk to me about when I was going into being a commuter at a university. I also went into the university with a probably horrible mindset when it came to making friends. My mindset was, I'm gonna go to class, I'm gonna go home. That was it. Get in my car, drive to class, go to class, go back home. And that was it for me. That is honestly an awful mindset to have, because it is, I don't want to say it's so much harder to make friends as a commuter, but it is that much harder to make friends as a commuter at a university. And that kind of is a given, because you don't have a roommate or anything like that. If you don't talk to anybody in any of your classes, you will know absolutely no one, because it's not like high school where you're just standing around in the hallways and walking around and you see all the same people in all the same classes, so you talk to people. No, you might have one class with one person and one class with a bunch of other people. You know, you may not have the same classes with all the same people, so if you want to make friends, you have to make that extra effort to actually talk to people. And I would really recommend that. If I could go back, I feel like I would have tried to make more friends in my classes and at university, because I really was in that mindset, and I was only there for 2 years. I really was in that mindset at first of, I'm not going to make any friends, I'm going to go and I'm going to go home. Honestly, I feel like my experience would have been a little bit better if I had, but that is probably my biggest tip if you are a commuter, is to make friends and make that extra effort to make those friends in your classes, or people that live on campus, anything like that. Just make those friends, make those connections, because you have to try just a little bit harder to make those if you're driving to school instead of living there. And there's a person driving, coming closer to me, and I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. You gonna see him? You saw him? Oh, there they go. Go to events. Go to events. Go to events. on campus. Now, again, this is something else you're gonna have to put in that little bit of extra effort to go to, but this is kind of stemming off of making friends. Go to those events that you like. I'm not saying go to every single event that they're gonna have. You know, if you're not gonna enjoy it, don't go to it. But if you see a flyer or something around campus for an event that you think is really cool and really interesting, go to it. Now, I know this is gonna be hard because this was the hardest thing for me, was going to events, even if I really enjoyed them, or if I really was like, oh, this is gonna be so interesting, I really wanna go to this, because most events are later in the afternoon, later in the evening. So you might get out of class at like 4:30 and the event's not until like 8 or 8:30. That was probably the hardest thing for me, actually staying and going to these events, because I lived about 25 minutes away from the school. If I went home, there was no going back for me. It was it. I was home and I was done for the day. So in order for me to go to these events, I would most likely have to stay on campus and do something. Again, this would have been more so beneficial if I had more friends, because if you have friends that live in the dorms or friends that you're gonna go to these events with, you can go meet them in their dorms, meet them for dinner, anything like that, and then you won't have to kind of just sit around for those couple of hours until the event. I would go to the library, do my homework, finish that in like an hour, and then still have like 3 hours left, and I'd be like, I just want to go home. So there was many things that I just didn't go to because I didn't want to wait around campus, and I didn't really have anyone that I wanted to reach out to and be like,
hey, do you want to go to this event? Are you going to this event? Can I come hang out with you?
I didn't make that extra effort. So definitely go to events, and definitely, again, make friends to go to these events with, because it'll be a lot better of an experience. This one stems off of making friends and also going to events, joining clubs and different organizations. Now, again, this isn't something that you have to do, but again, if there is something that you really are interested in, whether that's like, you know, sports, fraternity, sorority, different types of clubs, anything you're interested in, most likely the school will have a club or an organization for it. Or I know most schools will allow you to start one if you get enough people to allow you to start that club. So definitely look into stuff like that, because again, that will help you make a lot of friends. Maybe not a lot, but that'll help you make friends, those lasting friendships, especially with people that have the same interest as you, because that's the biggest thing. Having friends that have the same interest as you, that you can go to these events with, have these events with, host events with, anything like that, that would be very beneficial. I did join a sorority, and that is probably the biggest thing that I did when I went to the four-year university, and that is probably the best thing I did and the best decision I made, because I have made lasting connections with several people. I am just like, I feel like that was like the best decision I could have made for myself. Now, like I said, for you, figure out what's best for you. If you don't want to join a club or an org, don't. You don't have to. But again, go to events and still make friends. You don't have to be in something to go to these events and to make friends. But if you are really into something and there is a club or an org for it, why not go ahead and join it? Because then you'll be around people that like the same things that you do. Now we're moving into the last two, and that are a little bit more difficult things that I really did not know about and did not know that I would struggle with. This one, group projects. Nobody told me that group projects were gonna be this much more difficult as a commuter. Being a commuter, like I said, you aren't on campus, may not be on campus every day, you're not on campus every second of every day. So when it comes to group projects and you have to meet with these people more than once a week for a couple of weeks depending on the project, it gets really difficult. They don't tell you that sometimes you have to come on to campus late at night. Because I had to go to campus sometimes after I got off of work, because the library is normally open 24 hours during the week. I'd have to go up there at like 10 o'clock at night to work on a project, because that's the only time everyone was available, and I was the only one that like commuted there, and I had to drive there after I got off of work to go meet and do this group project, because you don't want to fail, you want to do good. That was probably the biggest struggle for me at first, was these group projects where you actually have to meet and do something, where there's like a science class or math class or something like that, where you have to actually put something together and do a bunch of research together and things like that. The groups that actually want to meet, which is better to meet, I feel, than to just do everything over text, but that's up to you and your group. But that was the hardest thing for me, having to go up on days where I either didn't have class or my class was over hours and hours before, again having to either wait on campus or go home and force myself to go back to campus, and just trying to actually go, having the motivation to go back to campus or to campus on a day where I don't even have class just to meet was very difficult for me, because I did not want to do that. I was like, no, I don't even have class today. I do not want to drive the 25 minutes to go to school just to meet. But I would, because again, you want those good grades, that's why you go to college. But being a commuter makes it that much harder, because especially if everyone's in your group lives on campus, they're like, oh, I can just meet after I eat dinner, and I'm like, Okay, well, let me know what time, because I'm gonna have to make sure I put in the time that it's gonna take me to drive there and park and walk to the library. And it was just a whole ordeal and a whole mess. So if you're a commuter, keep that in mind. Keep it in your mind. Know that if you have a group project, you're gonna have to allot a lot of time to figure that out. So just keep that in mind. The very last thing I'm going to be talking about in this video about being a commuter is food. Food kind of goes along with money and trying to figure out the best way to go about eating while you're on campus. Most people that commute to campus do not buy or get one of those dining cards or pay for a dining card, because you don't live there, you don't have to eat every meal on campus, so it kind of doesn't really make much sense for you to buy one of those cards to pay money for that. Now you can. I know some people that did, because they were on campus so much that they went ahead and just got one, but most people don't. I didn't, and I spent so much money on food. Let me tell you, that is another thing they don't really tell you, because if you're on campus all day, you either need to bring your own food, which I kind of started to do, but I would only bring like chips and something simple. You know, be smarter than me and actually pack a whole meal, whole couple of meals, honestly, because if you're there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night or whenever, you're gonna be hungry. Like, don't get me wrong, I tried some days to be like,
oh, I'm not gonna be hungry today, I'm only gonna be there for 5 hours, I'll eat before I go.
But when you have that hour-and-a-half break in between classes and you're like, I'm not gonna go home, of course you're gonna get hungry, you're gonna get snacky, you're gonna be like,
oh, I want something to eat.
Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to the food court at the school and you're gonna buy food. So you need to prepare for this before it happens. Prepare, because I told you now, you need to prepare for this before it happens. That was the biggest thing for me. I spent so much money at the Chick-fil-A, at the Bojangles, at the Wendy's, at the everything, because this was before I was gluten-free, so I was eating everything. When I tell you everything, I was eating so much and spending so much money on food on campus. It's ridiculous how much money I probably spent, because you know, if you get there early enough, maybe you want to eat breakfast. I eat, you know, Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit, and then you're still there during lunchtime, you have a break, you know, I'm gonna go to Bojangles or Wendy's, and then you know, you're there even later, whenever you are done with your classes, you know, maybe I'll start driving home and I'll stop by McDonald's and get more food. I'd spend so much money in a day, it was crazy. That is probably the biggest thing, is to prepare for that as well, because you might spend a lot of money on food, believe it or not. So pack lunches if you really want to, or set aside an allotted amount of money that you're going to spend on food, and tell yourself not to spend any more money than that in a week or a day, or however you want to do it, because I didn't do that and I spent a lot of money, and I could have saved a lot of that money. You know, when those refund checks come back, and you know, I just spent it all on food. But those are pretty much all the tips I have for you guys as far as the truth about being a commuter at a university. It can be a little bit more difficult, obviously. A lot of people say you don't get the full college experience as a commuter, and they're telling the truth. I love when people drive past me and just stare at me. But they are telling the truth. You don't get the full college experience. And I mean, I can't attest to if college is like in the movies, because I didn't live there. I didn't really experience a lot of those things, so I can say that the college experience I had is definitely different than someone who would have lived on campus. So you kind of have to make that decision before you're going into college, but you can definitely have a full college experience as a commuter if you try. You kind of just have to try a little bit harder than the people that do live on campus to actually get that full experience. I did not do that. I don't really regret it. Could it have been better? Yeah, but I don't regret it. I'm done with college now. Have my degree. That kind of is something I would have wished that I would have known before going into those last 2 years at university, because I would have kind of done things differently, but I was in that mindset of, no, I just want to graduate and go home, like, and that's it. Get me a job and be a successful person, which I'm not right now, but it's fine. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If any of these tips helped you, or if you've experienced any of these things, give this video a thumbs up and let me know down below what you've experienced, and if you're a commuter and if you enjoy it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below. Turn on the post notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Follow my social media. It'll be somewhere on the screen and in the description box down below. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.